Samantha from Jessima Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to create two translucent canes and then turn that into a bracelet. So what I'm working with today is Polymer clay, and for the first cane you're going to want gold, white and translucent. And to begin with, I am going to cut out two pieces of the gold because I want to create a skinner blend, and these will run out on the thickest setting of my pasta machine, which is probably about 2mm thick. And then I'm just going to cut out one white, and I'll use the translucent in a little bit. And what I'm going to do, just grab that and just clean up around it like so. Okay, and then you're going to put the white between the gold pieces, and again the translucent will come in a moment. I first want to create a skinner blend. And you're going to take that and you're going to fold it over, and you're going to do the process where you fold it over and over again to create a skinner blend. If you don't know how to create a skinner blend already, I do have a couple tutorials on my YouTube channel already, so just look for skinner blend and a number of them will come up. Okay, and here is how that should look. Then I want to shorten this, so I'm going to fold it over again and again to thicken it up like so, and then you're just going to press down on that to make sure there's no air bubbles, and then just start squishing it up on itself to shorten it. Now I don't need it a lot shorter, just a little bit. That should just about do. Okay, then I'm going to run that through the pasta machine again on the thickest setting of my pasta machine. And there we go. Go pop that to the side, and I'm going to bring over the translucent. And the translucent I need to condition, and you're going to roll that out on the thickest setting of your pasta machine again as well. Okay, then you're going to take that and you're going to fold it in half again, so it's twice the thickness of your thickest setting. And just pinch that all in so that it's not got any pieces hanging off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to squish one end up, making it even thicker like so, and the other end I want to taper. So you want to kind of create a really long tapered triangle, and it does not need to be perfect, you just want it to be roughly tapered. Okay, and that shouldn't take too long, and that's roughly what you're looking at. Then you're going to grab your skinner blend and you're going to place this down on top like so. Then trim away the extra clay like so. And then for the parts where you trim along the skinner blend edge, you can actually keep that, so just pop that down together again, and that skinner blend you can keep for later. We won't be using it in this project, but you can use it for other projects. Okay, and then I'm going to roll with the translucent on the inside from the thin tapered end. Do I want the translucent on the inside? Yes, I do. And you're just going to roll that up like so, all the way up, and then just taper that end down, and there you go. That's the first cane. If you find any air bubbles like this, just poke and push them out like so, and then just reduce this down like so. And I want to have 3 sizes, so I'm going to reduce it down and that should just about work. Cut that in half, and you can see there how that looks. I'm going to take this one and I'm going to reduce it down even more, cut it in half, reduce it down again, and that's how you get your 3 sizes. Okay, and there we go. Those are the 3 little spirals. You're going to pop those to the side and we'll use those in a bit. And now we're going to work on the next cane. And for that you want 3 lots of translucent. And then I've chosen 3 colours, that being Primo Sunshine Yellow, Primo Orange and Primo Alizarin Crimson. And I'm just going to take a tiny pinch of that. Just a little, but you really only need a tiny amount. If I was going to give a colour recipe, it would probably be about 1 part colour to about 30 parts translucent, give or take. And then you're going to mix those colours up. Okay, and here are the 3 colours. Now I'm going to take these and I'm going to form them into triangles. And I'm just going to squish them into the correct shape. I'm not going to cut out the triangles this time because I don't want to waste any of the clay. And I'm going to create a skinner blend. It's essentially the same as the previous skinner blend that we did, just with the translucent clay. You're going to take those and you're going to pop them together in order of the colours, going from red, orange to yellow. And yeah, you'll just create a skinner blend with those. Then once you've done that, roll out a piece of white polymer clay on the same thickness setting as these have been rolled out on, and then we can move on to the next step. Also, trick for the skinner blend, if you've got these little triangle pieces hanging out, you can just cut off about half and then flip them over, and that will bring your blend to a nice rectangle shape, which means that it's more even when it's going through the pasta machine. Okay, and here is how that should come out. If your blend is too wide across this way, you can just do what I did with the gold skinner blend, where you fold it over and over and squish it back together, or you can create a skinner blend plug and take slices from that. I'm going to take that and then grab the white clay, and I'm going to place that down and make sure that there's no air bubbles. Trim up that blend, and remember you can keep that can stay as a normal blend, and then the colours that you trim up on either side, you can just pop those back together, and those will be colours that you can use in future projects. Okay. And then once you've pretty much trimmed everything up like so, then I'm going to take that and I'm going to run that through my thickest, I'm going to take that and I'm going to run it through my thickest setting again, basically thinning it down so that it's the thickness of only one of these pieces. Okay, and that will have stretched it out as well. Then I'm just going to trim up the end so that it's nice and flush. I'm going to take that, cut it, and stack, and cut, and stack. And I'm going to do that the whole way up the blend, just cutting and stacking, and that's going to create the translucent stripe cane. And that is how it should look. Then you're going to take that and you're just going to start squishing that down, because it's too big to use as I want to use it anyway. I'm just going to take that and I'm going to squish it down, and you could use a roller as well to get that going. You just want to roll each side and reduce it down so that it's about half the size of what I've got right now, and you're going to reduce it down to whatever size you want it to be. No specific size really. Okay, and that shouldn't take too long because it's all quite soft at the moment. And then I'm only going to do one slice of this, so I'm not going to reduce it down into 3 like the spiral cane. And then I'm going to prepare our background. Okay, and that should just about do. I don't think it needs to be much smaller than that. Okay, and let me just cut a piece so we can see how it looks. You can see there how that looks. I might reduce that down a little more. No, I'll keep it like that. Okay, and for the backing, I'm going to have gold for the back of the piece, and then I have white for what we're going to put the canes on. So I'm going to just pop the gold into place, like so, smooth it down. Okay, and then the next bit is optional. I think it's going to add a little bit of depth and dimension to the piece, so I'm going to silk screen the white, but again, you can skip that bit if you would prefer. So I've just got that and I've rolled it out a little bit. Then I'm going to bring over my silk screen of choice, which is this one, and I'm going to be using this pattern over here. And just take that off the backing and apply it to the white, smoothing it down. Okay, and I'm just checking whereabouts I want to cut, because what I want to do is I want to have it going this way. I don't want the entire piece to be silk screened. So this is the cutter I'm using. There'll be a link in the description below to it if you are interested, but I'm just going to use a brush to apply this. Just grab the black and apply it loosely across the surface, and I want to work quickly because I don't want the paint to dry. I'm just going to check how that looks. Quite happy with that, and I'm just going to gently dot around the edges so that a little bit of the paint comes through, and just make sure that it's properly through in the middle, because that's where I want the image to properly screen through. Then lift that up, and that's exactly what I want. Allow that to dry and clean your brush and silk screen off. Okay, and then while this is drying, just going to pop that to the side, and I'm going to bring over the canes, and I also am going to bring over a piece of plain printing paper, and that is so that I can rest the cane slices on there so that they don't stick to the tile. And you really want to be taking slices as thin as possible. You really want to try to get as thin as possible. If your cane's a little too soft, you can always pop them into the freezer for a couple of minutes. But you want to be getting paper thin slices, so use a nice sharp blade for that. And I'm going to cut both the stripe cane and the spiral cane as well, and again both of them as thin as physically possible. Okay, then once you've done that, just bring this over, and I'm going to start on one side with these stripe pieces, and I'm going to just lay those over like so. And if you can get your pieces thin enough that you can see the silkscreen image through them, that is perfect. But if not, that's perfectly fine. Okay, and I'm just going to lay them down in such a way that they alternate from one another. And you can pop them down in any way that you want. It does not need to be specifically like this. They also can overlap with one another if you want. Okay, but I don't want to see any white showing through, or at least that's how I want it to be. So please feel free to lay these down in whatever pattern you find pleases you, so don't feel constrained to just do it the way that I'm showing. Then once you think you've got just about enough, just bring this over and double check, and that should be perfect. Alright, then on the other side I am going to grab the spirals and I'm going to place them down at random. This is why I said to pop them onto a piece of paper, because then you can just pick them up and pop them straight down, and it just makes things a lot easier. And those can overlap as well, so don't worry about getting them perfectly separate from one another. And just fill in all of those little white spaces. You want all of that to be covered by pattern, like so. Okay, and then I also placed some of the little spirals onto the striped area to kind of tie everything back together. Then I'm going to take a piece of paper and I'm going to give the whole thing a thorough burnish to flatten everything out, smooth it down, make it become one piece of nice smooth clay. You can use your roller to do this as well, or you can use your fingers like so, and you should be able to feel when it's all smoothed out. Okay, and there we go. That's how it should look. You should be able to feel that it is completely smooth. There should not be any bumps or anything like that. Then pick that up off the tile, just so that it's not firmly stuck. And what I would advise doing is just giving it another very quick burnish, mostly to smooth the back out. The back of the piece is going to have some bumps in it, because when I dome this I'm going to be putting it on a glass surface, so it is going to need to be sanded, but I want to get rid of most of those bumps. That should do. Pick that up, and just before putting it down again, make sure that there's no residue on the tile. Place that down and then just smooth it so that it sticks with as little air bubbles underneath as possible. Grab this and position it so that the black and white is running from one corner to the other. Cut that out, and because cutting it on a tile, it shouldn't stick in the cutter. Okay, lift that up, and I'm also going to just poke these pieces out because I don't need those either. And if you wanted to use those, you could just lift the piece up and then take them out. And that way you could use them for earrings, but I'm not going to be making earrings. And just smooth down the edges, because there might be a little bit of fluff from the cutter, but most of that can get cleaned up later, so it is going to need some sanding, but that's fine. Then bring over a glass jar or any kind of surface that will work to dome your piece, and just place it on like so. Just position it, making sure that it's in the right spot. And I've chosen this shape because it's a good circumference for the arm, because this is going to be a bracelet, so I want it to curve nicely around the arm. I'm just smoothing it down to make sure there's no fingerprints or anything like that, and then you're going to pop that into the oven for a full hour at Primo's recommended temperature. The canes are going to clean, or excuse me, the translucent's going to clear up. You're going to have a clearer image, and then you can pop this off, and I'm going to give it a little bit of a sand. And here it is out of the oven. So you can see that the images have cleared up quite a bit. And I have given the back a quick sand with a 400 grit sandpaper, and then for the sides I just am going to use a 400 grit polishing paper. You could use a wet dry sandpaper too. but you're just going to go around the edges, and that's just going to clean up any little rough parts that might be left. And you can also do that with the back. Just go over it quickly and remove any shiny spots. And this is completely smooth, so that's good. And then I also will go over just the cane spots on the main pendant, just to clean up any little bits of dirt that might be there. Avoid the paint down the middle, because that will get sanded off, and that's not something that I want. I just want to sand the little cane parts. And I am going to be varnishing it, so 400 grit is all I need to do. It's just to clean up the piece. Then you're going to grab some gloss varnish. I'm using Varathane polyurethane gloss varnish. And I'm both going to apply it to the front, let that dry, and then apply it to the back and allow that to dry. And I am most likely going to give the front 2 coats to allow it to look nice and shiny. And then we can turn it into a bracelet. Another thing that could work as well is it looks like it would look quite nice as a belt buckle as well. But I'm not going to be making that today, just a bracelet, but just an idea for this shape. Alright, and once you've applied the varnish, you're going to leave that to dry for about 15 minutes. And then I'll probably apply the second coat and then varnish the back as well. Okay, and here is how that looks once the varnish has dried. And I did decide to leave the back matte because it's got a really nice feel to it, and I think it will work better matte. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn that into a bracelet. And so I've already got the first half of the bracelet done, and I'll show you how to do that on the other side. Basically what you need is a cord of some sort that you think matches with your piece, and in this case I am using a mouse tail from Fine Mountain Gems and Beads, and I've got 5 strands of that, and I've got it in a ribbon cord end. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that, go thread that through, thread it through the other hole. Okay, and there we go. And I'm just trying to keep everything nice and straight and even, so that on the other side, when I grab these pieces and I bring over the ribbon end, I'm going to take that, and I need to make sure that these pieces are all together. Pop that down on top, grab a clasp and close that down on top of those cords, and then give it a really good squish. Okay, because you want those nice and secured, and you want to go from both ends, and that will make sure that it's good and trapped, and give it a little yank to make sure that it's properly on there, and it is. Right, and there we go. And then from there you're going to grab a jump ring and the other end of your clasp, in this case a toggle clasp, and just attach that to the cord end and close. And all of my findings I get from Fine Mountain Gems and Beads if you're looking for them. And then just pull that nice and straight. And there you go, you got yourself a bracelet. And this could also make for a nice choker necklace as well if you wanted to go for that. And I could also see this working for a lariat necklace, if that's how you pronounce it. Is it lariat or a lariat? Not sure. But I might show that in the future. But yeah, that is pretty much it. I do hope that you enjoyed it. It is a little different, mostly because of the design of the actual centerpiece. But yeah, let me know if you liked it in the comments below. If you have questions, leave them there as well, and suggestions for future tutorials are also greatly appreciated. And if you liked the video, please do consider leaving a like and subscribing, as I do videos like this almost every single day now. And if you'd like to support the channel so I can continue creating videos just like this one, please do consider becoming a member of the channel. There is a join button just below this video, or there is a link to Patreon in the description below. Both are one and the same and are a great way to support the channel. Another good way to support the channel is to check out my Etsy store where I sell cutters like the one that I used today. That's also another great way to support the channel and is greatly appreciated. And again, I do hope that you enjoyed today's tutorial, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.